and I hit the wrong button. Hello, everybody. How are you?
Feet. I'm doing fine. Looks like the chat room's having fun.
We are getting started here. I have a call for roll call. Looks like Al is in here tonight, and Jason has taken over those important duties. I see Kevin, Jason, Mike, Jill, and Steve, and Michael, and Zoe. And do I see anybody in the sidebar here? I don't see Rose yet, but let me know if she does sneak in.
I will.
How's that sound?
In fact, I'll let you know if anybody sneaks in.
All right, that sounds good. Well, we actually are going to get started pretty snappily tonight because we are going to try to see a launch of the Falcon 9 rocket down at the beach at 6:39, and so I'm going to try to get this show going. Enough messing around. I think we've done a test already, so I think we're ready to get going. What do you think, Steve?
I think so. Let's do this.
All right. You in front, this, there we go. Muting Steve. Ooh, that feels good to have that back. Oh, Kurt's here. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, July 10th, 2022, and this is show number 896. This is the last show before Steve and I jaunt off to Iceland. It's very weird for me to be packing and not including things like, flip-flops, shorts, and sunscreen, but I'm still looking forward to seeing a land unlike no other. We'll be staying for 3 days in the city of Reykjavik, and then we'll circumnavigate the island country in a small ship with only 100 passengers. Now, as floating petri dishes go, we're hoping the small number of people on a ship that can accommodate 200, along with requirements for a negative test before embarking, will keep us safe. We've stocked up on KN95 masks for the airport and flights. We've had 4 vaccinations each, so everyone keep their fingers crossed for us, okay? Well, another trip means another opportunity for me to make a diagram. This trip isn't nearly as complex as our Dubai, India, Nepal trip, but I made it fun by using an outline of Iceland from the Noun Project. And I make these diagrams partly because I'm obsessed with diagramming, but I also do it because I have situational awareness of my trips when I have one of these diagrams. In a few cases, it has saved us from disaster. For example, when we went to Ecuador, the Galapagos, and Peru to go hike Machu Picchu, I made my initial diagram and discovered that all of the Peruvian intra-country flights were non-existent. I contacted our travel company, and the agent blithely told me, "Oh, you're supposed to arrange those yourself." I was like, "So when were you planning on telling me that, darling?" We could have easily gotten off the train after leaving Machu Picchu, only to discover we had no way of getting to our next destination. On the Dubai, India, Nepal trip, the diagram was really invaluable. As we entered each country, we had 5 separate country entrances, even though we only went to 3 countries because we kind of backtracked. As we went into each country, immigration would ask us, "Where are you staying?" I simply handed them my laminated diagram and I let them figure it out. Well, I never got any hassle as a result, so that was the purpose of that. I was surprised that none of the agents appeared to be amazed and delighted that I had made it so easy for them. They're probably just of a culture that doesn't express such excitement. I'm sure they were secretly thrilled. I make my diagrams with diagrams.net, a web service, or their downloadable desktop app. And if you'd like to amaze and delight your immigration officials or even your own family, I suggest you give it a try. If you'd like to follow along with our trip to Iceland, I've included a copy of the diagram in the show notes. Okay, NosillaCast audio, NCF. All right, I don't know that we need a chapter mark for no live show. I'm going to just keep rolling, Steve.
Okay.
Since we'll be gone to Iceland, remember this means there will be no live show on July 17th and July 24th. Last week, I tried to tell you that, and I got the dates wrong when I was talking about when to get submissions in. And I got to tell you, I nearly gave Alistair a heart attack when he listened to the show. So July 17th and July 24th are definitely the dates that they are doing the shows, so there will be no live show. Alistair and Bart have enough material to do fabulous shows for you, and many thanks to the contributors who've made this possible. Now, if you are working on any content, please still send it along. We'll be returning from our trip very late on Monday the 24th, and quite possibly just a smidge jet lagged. And then I have 3 days home before we leave to go see Forbes for the weekend to celebrate his 6th birthday, where I probably won't get any work done at all. We will be doing a live show that weekend, but I will most likely need content, so please bring it on.
Okay, we did have a couple join us.
All right, who joined us?
John and Rose.
John?
Rose finally
John
came
and
in.
Rose. All right. Rose is bringing the Shardy. What are you bringing, John? For being late. All right. So, let's see. I'm going to hit my...
Bourbon.
Grumpy.
Perfect.
Ooh, nice. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, apparently I have to start it over in Hindenburg. Sure that's not doing anything. Okay, looks like it's not doing anything. Okay, let's press my grumpy button. Do a copy link. Nope, I have to click it and then copy it. That is so weird. It does the first one, but it doesn't do the second one.
Odd.
You can't drink tonight. Oh, okay. Well, it's okay as long as we get some. We don't care.
That Spotted Cow beer is good. I will back up Jill there.
You've had that?
She brought it with her. I think that's
Oh,
the one.
right.
I think that's
Oh, sorry.
Is that right,
Yeah.
Jill? Is that the 6-pack that you brought with you? Yeah, that was tasty.
All right, muting Steve. I actually published 2 Chit Chat Across the Ponds this week. The first one was an interview with author Molly DeFrank on her book Digital Detox, the 2-week tech reset for kids. And I had this interview, I was joined with Lindsay Tondi, my daughter, who put Molly's advice to the test with her son Forbes. Okay, too many mistakes. This week I published not 1, but 2 episodes of Chit Chat Across the Pond. The first one was an interview with author and actually my niece, Molly DeFrank, on her book, Digital Detox. Okay. Sorry, one more time. In this week's Chit Chat Across the Pond, third's a charm. This week I published actually not 1, but 2 Chit Chat Across the Ponds. In the first one, I interview author Molly DeFrank on her book, Digital Detox, the 2-week tech reset for kids. We were joined by Lindsay Tondi, who's put Molly's advice to the test with her son Forbes. Now, if you listen to my shows, you might find the idea of detoxing your children from tech for 2 weeks to be a simply crazy idea. In Molly's book, she describes the behaviors she was seeing in her own 6 children and the transformation she and her husband saw when screens were off the table. Molly has applied this not just in her own home, but she's helped parents online and in real life learn how to make sure technology is there as a tool to accomplish things, not just for the dopamine hit to their brains. Her book gives practical steps to follow. She said she wrote the book she wished she'd had to guide her when she pulled her children off of screens a few years ago. Lindsay describes how she's worked through the book and how Forbes has actually really enjoyed the change, how his reading ability has taken off, and how he calls her out if she's mindlessly scrolling on her phone. If you've been noticing that your kids are maybe turning into monsters when you take screens away from them, you really might want to take a look at Molly's book, Digital Detox, and you can listen to her explain more about that in Chit Chat Across the Pond, number 735. All right.
You didn't mention that the little dance from Forbes.
Yeah, it's part of the interview, so I'm not sure how I could do that.
Got it. Oh,
I mean, I could.
You're right. You reference it in the. Well, tell you what. I'll just put it in the chat room.
Yeah, and give the link to the music they should play along with it.
Oh, it's too big.
Is it?
Yeah, it's. Shoot.
Can you put a link to it?
Let's see.
Oh, let me see if I can
image
copy
address. Yeah, I think I can.
Can you do it?
I put the link in. Oh, it's resolving, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that worked.
Now, so what? So
while you play it,
while you play it, listen to this. Can I copy link here? Yeah. So he's dancing to a song from the movie Coco called it's I think
Halale.
Halale, yeah. And so this is what he's listening to as he's dancing. So if you play
So-
that while watching this, it has more context.
This was our way of making it not be a copyrighted problem.
Right.
All right. I'm going to mute you, Steve. In our nope. Didn't do a chapter mark. Okay, so okay. Press the button. Copy. Didn't mean to do that. Ignore that. Yeah, having to click in there is a problem. But okay, let's try this again. Okay, I'll copy link. And then I have to get into it. And then I have to copy. Nope. Why isn't it working right? Okay, one more time. Start there. Press the grumpy button. Okay, copy link. Click in here. Do that. Got it. Wait, it didn't just erase the previous one, did it? Yeah, it did. There we go. Okay. Whew. Okay. All right. Now let me tell you about the second episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond this week. I'm about to go on vacation, like I mentioned, and I suspect that we'll have little to no internet to play with. It would be really cool if I could use any downtime I have, like on the 11-hour plane flight, to do some programming. Unfortunately, the code we create these days is often filled with references to content delivery networks to get needed libraries like jQuery and Bootstrap. While on my walk on Friday, I was mentally preparing a post for our Programming by Stealth Slack community to ask them, how can I modify my code so that it doesn't require the internet to function? Imagine my surprise and delight when I saw Bart's topic for this week's Programming by Stealth. It's all about how to do exactly what I wanted. He covers how to prepare your computer for departure, how it's important to clone any repos you might want to reference, and most importantly, how to localize your dependencies, and then what to undo when you return back home and why. It was exactly everything I needed to know, and I hope it helps you too whenever you disconnect from the net but still want to play with your code. You can find this in your podcatcher of choice, Chit Chat Across the Pond number 736, or Programming by Stealth Tidbits 5 of Why. I just realized I didn't fix the URL. Won't actually entertain the audience. I have to fix the second.
That must be why it didn't resolve.
No, you know what? No, the reason I never did it. What do you mean it never resolved?
No, it did. Okay, I guess it's Discord just didn't resolve it, but it worked for me.
Didn't resolve what?
It didn't resolve in Discord when I typed in bartificer.net. It didn't show the actual site. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
What you're talking about, but
I
haven't published it to the PBS feed is what I was talking about, which has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Got it.
PBS. There we go. Well, let's just publish a piece of the podcast while we're at it. Okay. Now it's up on the Programming by Stealth feed. Good thing I haven't noticed that. All right. Cancel. Okay. You stay here. All right. That's fine. Okay. And that's that. So let me close that down. So I see that chit chat resolved.
No, not the chit chat. The part of bartificer.net link didn't resolve. The one below it.
Okay. Oh.
But it works. It's an active link that.
Oh, that's because Bart doesn't do any featured images, or he's not using a content delivery network, or not a content delivery network, whatever you call it, what WordPress is. He's not using anything like that. He's publishing it as GitHub pages, so there's nothing, nothing comes along for the ride with that.
Got it.
He loves it.
If it works for him.
Okay, I'm going to do this one a different way. Let me go ahead and do it like it's a chapter mark. Copy link. But I am going to do this. Okay, putting in the chapter mark. All right, here we go. I have a book recommendation for you. It's a book called Through the Ages, The Fox and Crow Chronicles, Book 1. I read this book because it was written by Sarah Alder, daughter of Kevin Alder, also known as Big in Virginia, also known as Steve's Wingman in the live chat room. Now, I originally bought this book just to support Kevin's daughter. She's a new author, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to just, support the home team. But I got to tell you, it's a really good book. It's an imaginative book about a young woman who is pursued romantically by a man who has been dead for, I think it was 400 years. The storyline is like nothing I've ever read before, and I love it when a book is hard to explain. Like you can't say, oh, it's like this book. It's different from anything I've ever read. The characters are very vividly described, and the scenery and the rooms and things like that, but without being all verbose. Like I don't like it when somebody goes on for 14 paragraphs about like how the hills looked in the sunshine or some nonsense like that. Just enough to give you a really vivid feel for what everything looks like. I am thrilled that this is book 1 because I seriously need to know what's going to happen next because I did not see where this story was going. Again, the book is called Through the Ages, The Fox and Crow Chronicles, Book 1, and I put a link to it on Amazon so you can go check it out for yourself. I thought you might be,
so
Kevin.
Cool.
And I'm not lying. I really did just do it like to support the home team. You're welcome, Kevin. That's why I wanted her information. I wanted to send her a note telling her what I thought, but then I thought maybe it'd be even more fun if I did it here. So there is a chapter mark. There's a link to it on Amazon in the show notes. So, yeah. Should I make a blog post for or a chapter mark for Ed was wrong, Frank was right, so Frank can play it over and over again?
Why not? Yeah, because it's actually a little lengthy too. I mean, it's not that long, but it's worth bookmarking. Yeah. I can't remember how to make a chapter mark on my own. Jill, how do I make a chapter mark? What is it? I thought it was Command-Shift-Enter. Yeah, there it was. Okay, that's what I did the first time. Ed was wrong. Where's Ed when
Frank
you need him?
was right. Al just snuck in.
I bet we're going to get a roll call reminder here.
All right. Here you go. Why is everybody sending the same image to him? To just everybody doing the same thing? There, he says roll call. Good. Thanks, Steve. All right, muting Steve. Last week, I told you a little story about a permissions problem reading files I'd created myself and then stored on my Synology. I explained that I tried every solution I could think of, including reinstalling macOS over the top in order to get permissions to my own darn files. Then I told you that Ed Tobias, also known as Mr. Ed in our live chat room, had given me the correct solution way back at the beginning of this adventure. He had suggested I just simply delete my keychain entry for my Synology, but I didn't want to do it. In the end, I did it, and it solved my problem. As much as it pained me, last week I was forced to admit that Ed was right. But this story isn't over. In our Slack at podfeed.com/Slack, Frank Petrie, also known as Wheels, said he'd been having a similar problem, but that it was isolated to just PDF files, and that had nothing to do with storing the files on network-attached storage. As I thought about what Frank wrote, I was kicking myself because when I was having the problem, I never tested anything but PDF files, so I couldn't verify whether it was the same problem he was having or something different. Well, the kicking came to an end this week when the darn permissions problem returned. I printed a file to PDF, stored it on my Synology, and then tried to open it, only to be denied access. I tried opening a couple of other PDFs that I had not created but had simply moved to the Synology, and I couldn't open those either. Then I remembered what Frank had said and that it seemed to be a problem with Preview. I tried opening an Excel spreadsheet on my Synology, and guess what? It opened without any pesky permission errors. This showed that the problem was with PDFs only, but I needed a way to prove that it was Preview at fault. I went into Setup and I downloaded Nitro PDF Pro, which I think is the new PDF pen since Smile sold that to Nitro Software. I tried to open one of my PDFs on my Synology with Nitro's PDF tool, and it opened without any complaints. I can't quite say that Ed was wrong because it was a good idea and I should have tried it sooner, but I can say that Frank was right. Now, after Frank posted, Steve Goodenough posted in Slack on that same conversation, explaining he's been struggling with this same error message on Big Sur, but that it went away for him in a recent security update for the OS. He gives his reasons why he's on Big Sur, and they are legitimate. Anyway, I'm hoping this isn't a generalized problem, but I'm sure Preview is involved since Nitro can open these PDFs. That's bad enough because it means my hands are tied now on how to fix it without Apple's help. And don't make me call the phone call of sadness. I just do not have the energy for that right now. All right. Chapter.
No one does.
Really. Chapter mark. Copy link. Here we go. All right. Oh, this is the short one. Boy, there's so much in the, so many blog posts now.
Yeah.
All right.
Some of them are queued up as drafts.
Yeah. Boy, Alistair's a machine. He's already recorded all of the segments he needs, and he's done so many, he's giving a couple to Bart.
Wow.
All right. Oh, Kurt was busy looking at my ISON authors. Didn't hear when Allison needs to have content in your guest posts. I needed them last week. But, Kurt, please do what you're going to do anyway, because as I explained, when I get back, I'm going to need content because I'm only going to have 3 days, one of which I'm going to be jet lagged in order to create the next show. Hopefully I'll think of something to write while I'm on vacation, but I'd rather be on vacation more. So send it to me. Anything you have, just send it to Allison@podfeed.com. Kurt, that would be awesome. Make it nice and long and juicy. You have a fabulous voice, so I would love that. All right. Oh, good. Yay. So I will be back on the 25th. Is that right, Steve? The 25th? I muted Steve, so I won't know. Okay. Good job, Steve. I see him blink. Yellow, blink. All right, here we go. What the heck? I must hit the wrong button. I've been using the Grammarly plugin for browsers for ages. Its job in life is to watch what you're typing and look for typos, punctuation mistakes, grammar errors, and even to let you know what tone you're setting in your writing. Grammarly is a freemium service, and while I could probably benefit from the premium service, the free tier has a lot of benefits. I write my blog posts by starting in Ulysses, where I can write on iPad or Mac and still use Text Expander. When I've got a first draft complete, I copy the markdown text over to the awesome Mars Edit. From there, I add in my images with captions and do my final-ish edits. Then I push my post to podfeed.com. Once the post is in WordPress on my site, I wait for Grammarly in the browser to go through the text and put thick red underlines on all of my errors. I like using Grammarly because a simple hover over a red line reveals the correction Grammarly is suggesting. If I agree with her, and she's usually right, I only have to click the correction to accept it. When I disagree with her, which is usually because it's a term she doesn't quite understand, I can click the dismiss option so the red line goes away. If Grammarly is in a good mood, I can sometimes add an unfamiliar word to her dictionary for my account. But sometimes she doesn't offer me that option, even when I'm logged into the service. I've never figured out why she's moody that way. Now, you might be asking yourself why I don't just depend on the built-in spell check in macOS. There's a few reasons why. I'm not sure what's causing this, but lately the built-in tool is wrong more and more often on really simple rules. For example, as I was writing up this article, the built-in tool told me that I had used the incorrect version of your versus your. I was using the contraction for you are, but it wanted me to use your, Y-O-U-R. I wish I knew why macOS's spelling check is getting worse. More importantly, I get so much more help from Grammarly than simple spell check. Grammar and punctuation are key features for me. It catches doubled words, it catches extra spaces, and punctuation is another important feature of Grammarly. It puts in commas I've forgotten and removes the ones I mistakenly add. I suspect at the end of every post it's a zero-sum game on this comma issue, and every time she makes a comma-related suggestion, I realize she's right. You'd think I'd start learning to put them in correctly after a while, but you'd be wrong. Heck, she found an extra comma in this very paragraph I'm talking about right now. Now, Grammarly and I don't always agree, but she's also quite good at telling me when I should have hyphenated a word or when I hyphenated unnecessarily. There's one problem Grammarly has that happens from time to time when I'm using the WordPress interface in my browser. Occasionally, and I can't find the root cause for this, the red underlines aren't under the correct word or words that she's trying to correct. I'll hover and it'll be referring to a word on the line above or below where the underline occurred. Normally I can tell what she means, but recently this has been happening where the underlines are so far off from where the perceived error was that I couldn't figure out what she was trying to correct. I really needed Grammarly to work, though. I depend on it. I remembered that years ago, I had downloaded and installed the standalone Grammarly app for the desktop. I desperately needed Grammarly to work on this particular blog post that I was working on, and I wondered, well, maybe the standalone app could help me. I figured I could copy the text from my blog post, yes, this would be the fourth copy of it, and paste it into the Grammarly app and then put it back on the blog after the corrections had been made. When I downloaded the desktop app for Mac from Grammarly.com, I discovered that it has changed a lot since I last used it, and it has way more capability and it's much more useful than ever was before. As before, you can use the Grammarly app as a web app and write directly into it, but the new Grammarly desktop app integrates with all text entry capable apps on your Mac. Remember how I said I start in Ulysses, then I move to MarsEdit, and then to Web, and only then could I use Grammarly? With the desktop app installed, now Grammarly checks my spelling, grammar, and punctuation in Ulysses and MarsEdit while I'm typing. Now, while being nagged while I'm typing might slow me down a little bit, the finishing part of writing a blog post will be much faster, and that's often what takes me the longest. All that moving of the text around and checking and rechecking what I've written is a lot of waste. Grammarly is checking what I'm writing as I go now, so there shouldn't be any errors of substance by the time I push the post to the blog. This might also lighten the load for Sandy, who checks every blog post of mine and usually finds several mistakes. What if you've got an app on your Mac for which it makes no sense to have Grammarly check your spelling? For example, I certainly wouldn't want Grammarly poking your nose into my coding applications. While you're typing in any app, you'll see a little floating icon nearby. If you click on the icon and then set the settings gear, from there you'll have the option to block the app you're currently using from being checked by Grammarly. I'm going to do a quick pause because I haven't refreshed and I've actually got mistakes in this post. It just has the letter I sitting there. Steve, are you following along with me? I'm about to come to that image. Do you see the word just I sitting at the end of the sentence there?
Yeah. Want me to get rid of it?
Yes, please. She didn't catch that. All right. What if you're working hard to hammer out a tough concept and Grammarly's red underlines keep distracting you? You can tell her to hush and just leave you alone for 30 minutes in the same settings gear menu. The floating Grammarly icon has another purpose. If she's found some problems, there will be a number in the icon designated. Okay, too many. Quick sip of water here. No, Steve's following the Star Trek thread here. Great. What if you're working hard to hammer out some kind of tough concept and just trying to get the wording correct and what if you're working hard to hammer out a tough concept and you're having trouble getting your wording exactly the way you want it, but Grammarly's red underlines keep distracting you? It turns out you can tell her to hush and just leave you alone for 30 minutes in that same settings gear menu I talked about. The floating Grammarly icon has another purpose. If she's found some problems, there will be a number in the icon designating how many things are left that she thinks you should correct. It's even color-coded by what kind of problems she's found. For example, at one point while I was writing up this article, she found 4 places she suggested the removal of unnecessary words like actually, and 3 true errors in punctuation and grammar. The circle is partially blue for the suggestions and red for the true errors. When you fix all of the problems she's found, that number will clear. The bottom line is I've been using Grammarly for a long time, and having it everywhere in every app is making my writing more accurate no matter where I'm writing. My tweets aren't typo-filled, my Slack messages make more sense, and even my emails are better written. If you don't like someone peering over your shoulder and telling you when you made a mistake, you might hate Grammarly. But remember, you can tell her to leave you be for 30 minutes when she gets on your nerves. There's also a period, the last sentence before it says bottom line, Steve, there's no period at the end of that sentence.
Okay.
Is that what you see as well?
Yep.
Well, that's kind of comical that she made 2 errors in an article I'm reading about. Oh, well. All right. Did I miss anything fun? Now she could stop me from saying foolish things while recording. And you should try it, Jill. It's pretty awesome. Whoops. Yeah, no. There we go. Oops. Doesn't work if you give her the wrong chapter mark. Oh, no. Want that one. I don't want this one. Delete. Okay. I want this one. Try it again. Copy link. That's annoying because I have to hit it twice to get it to copy. I'll worry about that when I get back. All right, we're going to talk about OneSwitch. All right, this one's going to take a while. Oh, you do use it. It's the only reason my show notes seem mildly readable. That's awesome. Well, your show notes do some heavy lifting because they're trying to interpret just your normal speech patterns, and mine I do the other way around, so mine has half a chance, right? Okay, here we go. The late, great Tim Verporten used to love a menu bar app that did one thing and did it well. I've got a menu bar app that does 23 unique things, and it does almost all of them well. It's called OneSwitch from Fireball Studio. I'm stumbling. The late, great Tim Verporten used to love a menu bar app that did one thing and did it well. I've got a menu bar app that does 23 unique things, and it does almost all of them well. It's called OneSwitch from Fireball Studio. OneSwitch is kind of a funny name for an app with up to 23 switches. I think the name means you get one switch at your fingertips to do just that one thing quickly. OneSwitch is available with your setup subscription, or you can buy a license for $5. If you want to license it for multiple Macs, you can get 2 licenses for $8, or a family pack of 5 for $17. They've even got a free 7-day trial of OneSwitch. When you first install OneSwitch, you'll see 8 switches in the drop-down from your menu bar. I'll get into how each Nope. I'll get into how to see more than 8, but let's walk through these first 8 to see if any of them solve a problem for you. I didn't test every single switch with VoiceOver, by the way, but I was able to toggle on the switches that I tried. As you hear about in this article, there are often settings within a switch accessed via downward chevron, and unfortunately, I was not able to access that chevron with VoiceOver. If you're really interested in this application, you might want to check in with the developers to see if they could just go add that those little drop downs, because it is important to the functionality of the software. And since pretty much everything else works, I think it'd be a worthwhile effort. Keep in mind that most of the switches in OneSwitch perform functions that you can do on your Mac through other means, so there's no real magic in most of these. But one switch gives you instant access to the switches you use most often instead of having to go dig through system preferences or know arcane keyboard shortcuts. If you want to take Okay, with all that preamble, let's start talking about the switches, the first 8 that come with one switch. If you want to take a screenshot or show your desktop in a video screen share, it's nice to be able to hide your messy desktop icons. The first switch is called Hide Desktop Icons, and it does exactly that. Files, folders, and even mounted volumes all simply disappear. Now, I think it's also restarting the Finder when it does this maneuver because any open Finder windows will briefly fade out and then come back. The next switch is called Dark Mode, and it does just what it says on the tin. It's a quick toggle for dark mode. By default, this is a manual switch, which is the way I personally prefer it, because I normally like light mode and I only occasionally want dark mode. But if you click the little downward chevron next to the switch, you get some more options. You can select auto change. What? You lost my voice? Okay. YouTube red screen. Okay. Or have dark mode enabled from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
You must be listening to me on Discord.
You are back on YouTube.
Al?
Yes.
You must be listening to me on Discord?
No. Oh, I am. I've muted the wrong one. That's why I heard you, huh? Okay, muting you on Discord. You've just been behaving yourself.
Very well, I might add.
Or have dark mode enabled from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. If you want a different schedule, you'll also see an option for going into settings. This opens preferences for one switch where you can set your own schedule. Now, I don't quite know why you'd want a switch that had a schedule, because then what do you need the switch for, right? But it's in there if you want it that way. I like it just to switch manually, so I can simply go, I want dark mode right now, and now I want it to go back to light mode. Over the years, I've seen many menu bar apps dedicated to one function: keep my Mac awake. I'm pretty sure they're all a graphical user interface for the terminal command caffeinate. Now, I like the terminal as much as the next woman, but if you need this function option to light mode.
I'm getting some glitches here. Again, you had a pause.
Over the years, I've seen many menu bar apps dedicated to one function: keep my Mac awake. I'm pretty sure they're all a graphical user interface for the terminal command caffeinate. I like the terminal as much as the next woman, but if you need this function often, an easily accessible switch could be quite useful. Instead of dedicating an entire menu bar item slot in our already filled menu bars, if you use one switch, you can have a keep away switch in your dropdown of switches. By default, keep awake stays on indefinitely, but if you hover over it, you'll see the handy-dandy downward chevron again, which reveals more options. You can set it to 5 different time lengths from 5 minutes to 5 hours, and even choose to keep your Mac awake when the lid is closed. Now, I have a confession to make. I hear all the time about people using their Mac notebooks plugged into secondary displays and having the Mac in clamshell mode, meaning the lid closed. And I've always wondered, how do they keep the Mac awake when they do that? I imagine there's a toggle somewhere in the system for this, but I've never thought to ask where it is. Now, with keep awake in one switch, I don't have to know. The next switch isn't going to change the world, but if you like to turn your screensaver on when you walk away from your computer, or maybe you like to watch it while you're on a telephone call, or when you just want to think, one switch has a switch for that. I don't use any Bluetooth headphones with my Mac, but I know it's something other people like to do. One switch has a switch to connect or disconnect your headphones to your Mac. I tested with AirPods Pro and Beats Fit Pro, and the Headphones Connect switch worked reasonably well. I say reasonably well for a couple of reasons. Headphones Connect reported originally that my Beats Fit Pro had 0% battery when I had just taken them out of the charging case. Even though it got the battery level wrong, the switch successfully connected them to my Mac. Now, when I tested the AirPods Pro, it showed the correct battery status, left and right independently, but it took a few tries to get them to connect, and it said they weren't responding. All right, well, at this point, I could see both pairs of headphones in the list in Headphones Connect. I tried to connect to the Beats Fit Pro again, and I got that same non-responsive error that I got with the AirPods Pro. But then I tried it again, and it worked perfectly, and the battery started reporting flawlessly on the Beats Fit Pro. From my lengthy experience with Bluetooth devices, I would suggest that the intermittent success I experienced was not the fault of one switch, but rather Bluetooth itself. In any case, if you like to switch on and off the connection to your headphones, you may like the Headphones Connect switch. In the Customize Preference section for Headphones Connect, you can choose from several playful icons to represent your different headphones. I thought that was really fun. With the advent of focus modes in macOS and iOS, I have to click 3 or 4 times to turn off all of my notifications. I have to click on Control Center, then on Do Not Disturb. Then I have to choose a focus mode with the third click and then tell it how long do I not want to be disturbed. I really miss being able to click on the crescent moon icon and instantly toggle Do Not Disturb. Well, it's not quite as easy as that, but one switch includes a switch called Do Not Disturb. It does take 2 clicks, one to open the menu bar up and one to toggle the switch, but it doesn't require nearly as much cognitive load because it's pretty simple visually. I do have trouble telling when Do Not Disturb is on versus off in Control Center. Does a white background with a slightly purple dark moon mean that's off or is it on? Well, the Do Not Disturb switch in one switch is super obvious. It's like on or off. That's it. It's a switch. You can see it. Now, I was suspicious that the Do Not Disturb switch in one switch might not be able to do it. And how could it bypass the need to deal with all these focus modes? But I tested it, and it works. It does what it says on the tin, as Bart would say. There is a downside, though. It's not the same as setting a focus mode to Do Not Disturb, because it doesn't change you to Do Not Disturb on all of your devices. I really like that feature, so I'm going to have to think about where this will be useful. Now, I am not a big fan of Night Shift and True Tone, but if you are, you'll love that one switch comes with independent switches for both. If you hover over Night Switch, I'll get that yet right. If you hover over Night Shift, you can enable it to auto-change from sunrise to sunset, just like if you drill all the way down into the display controls in System Preferences. If you want to change the color temperature, you will still have to go into System Preferences. Now that covers the 8 default set of switches in detail. But if you click the Customize button at the bottom of the One Switch menu, you can add 15 more switches. Now, this might sound like a really bad idea because this list is going to get harder to look through, but in the Customize Preferences, you have 2 tools to save you from that problem. The great thing about One Switch is that it has so many switches. There's bound to be some you like and some that I like. We can toggle on the switches we enjoy having at our fingertips and toggle off the ones we don't need. Also in the Customize panel, every switch has a little hamburger menu to the right of it. This allows, I shouldn't call it a hamburger menu, it's a hamburger icon button. This allows the user to drag the switches into the order that makes the most sense to them. Being able to tailor this menu bar app with the switches we need in the order we need them is what makes one switch really shine, because mine is going to look completely different from yours. While we're taking an intermission from describing the switches, let me tell you about another thing you can do in Preferences. If you're a keyboard junkie, you can record shortcut keys to any of the switches you enable. Now, I wondered about that, and I tested to see if you can have a keyboard shortcut for a switch that's not enabled. And while you can add the shortcut to a disabled switch, it doesn't do anything unless the switch is enabled and therefore visible in the dropdown. Now let's learn about all of the other switches we can add, and perhaps you'll find value in enough of them to make one switch worth that whopping $5 purchase price. Okay. Gotta have a sip. What am I missing? An HDMI dongle.
This is a long one.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they call it one switch?
Plug.
I've seen like 25 switches.
21.
21.
23.
Oh.
8 plus 15. All right. Intermission's over. One of the harder things to do on a Mac is mute your microphone. While you can open System Preferences, go to the audio pane, switch to the input tab, and then click the mute box, that's a lot of faffing about when you're trying to mute your dog barking during a Zoom call. Luckily, one switch comes with a mute microphone switch. When you toggle this switch, you get a temporary little notification in the bottom right of your screen telling you that you've muted or unmuted your mic. Your fellow video audio conference callers will thank... video and audio. I promise you, your fellow video and audio teleconference callers will thank you for muting your coughs, dogs, parakeets, small children, and trucks passing by outside your window. Now, as an experiment, I added a keyboard shortcut to the mute microphone switch, and then I added that keystroke to my Stream Deck, and it works perfectly. Before Elgato came out with the Wave XLR mic interface that has a mute button on it, I was on a desperate search for an interface with a mic mute. I would have loved this solution. Now, first I thought the next switch really understood me. It really got me. It's called music. When I toggle it on, it toggles itself right off again. For someone who doesn't listen to music, it was functioning perfectly. Well, the trick to using the music switch is that you need to have Apple Music up with a song selected first. Only then will toggling the switch play the song and stop it again. Now, music has a mini player that lets you minimize the music app's main window, but it does take up some space. Perhaps having a music toggle switch in a drop-down from your menu bar would give you back even that small window's worth of space. I'm not sure that's super useful, but it's there. Now, at some point in your Mac using journey, you'll find that you need to find a hidden file on your Mac. Hidden files have names that start with a dot and are often referred to as dot files. If you know what dot files are and why you might want to see them, then the next switch in OneSwitch might be of use. It's called Show Hidden Files, and it toggles their visibility on and off in the Finder. It works Command Shift period, and you'll toggle visibility of these same hidden files back off and on again. If keystrokes you use so rarely are hard to remember, Show Hidden Files in OneSwitch will be handy for you. When I walk away from my Mac, I like to put my displays to sleep to save energy. I've set up the sleep corner using System Preferences, but it seems harder than it should be to accurately hit that corner. It seems I invariably bump the cursor right after the screen goes to sleep and I wake it up again. Luckily, OneSwitch comes with a switch called Display Sleep, and I'm finding that much more reliable than trying to use my sleep corner. I wish macOS made it easier to select from a big list of screen resolutions. I'm sure most people are happy with the simplified choices in System Preferences displays. It gives us the default for display, and you can toggle it to scaled. From there, you can choose from up to 5 total options. They're dumbed down too. They range from larger text to more space. If you want to go wild, you can hover over the 5 options to actually see the resolution numbers. Again, I acknowledge that for the vast majority of humans, this is a good approach. But for nerds, it's not good enough. I was pleased to see that OneSwitch has a screen resolution switch, but I'm afraid it doesn't work as I would expect. In its initial configuration, if you click the chevron, it gives you quick access to the same 5 screen resolutions as System Preferences. So far, so good. You can also open settings for screen resolution, and you'll see a giant list of optional screen resolutions, and you can check a checkbox next to each one of those you want listed in the switch. Unfortunately, they don't really work. I added about 10 resolutions using the checkbox settings for screen resolution, but only one of them showed up in the screen resolution switch for my MacBook Pro. Now, it's possible the other resolutions wouldn't render typo, Steve. Look for I'm afraid in that previous paragraph. It says, I'm afraid it doesn't as I would expect. The word work is missing.
I'm sorry, which you said the previous paragraph?
Look for I'm afraid.
What section are you in?
Just look for I'm afraid, Command F, I'm afraid. The next word should be, it's I'm afraid it. It should be I'm afraid it. Actually, it says I'm afraid it doesn't as would expect. The word work is missing.
Okay.
Now, it's possible where'd it go? Now, it's possible the other resolutions wouldn't render properly on that display, but then I shouldn't be able to choose them, right? The second resolution switch for my MacBook Pro. Now, it's possible the other resolutions wouldn't render properly on that display, but I should be able to choose them if that's true, or I should be given some indication why they're not going to show up. The same thing happened when I tried to add resolutions for my Pro Display XDR to that screen resolution switch. If I don't add the 4 resolutions that are standard in display preferences for XDR, then I don't get any options at all under this switch. I use the screen resolution tool inside Parallels Toolbox, which gives me access to tons of new screen resolution options, and I will not be giving it up for the switch in OneSwitch. Let's cleanse our palettes next with a switch everyone needs. It's called Screen Clean. When you toggle this switch on, your internal and external displays will go black. In the middle of the screen, you'll see a little animated brush cleaning off your screen, and below that it will say Screen Cleaning Mode with a click to exit button. At the bottom of the screen, it will also say your keyboard is also locked. This is something I wanted for a very long time. I can't stand a dirty keyboard or a fingerprinty screen, and now with one switch, I can stop both from reacting while I clean them without having to shut down my Mac or power off my keyboards. While Screen Clean locks both your screen and your keyboard for cleaning, you can independently lock just your keyboard using one switch. Our screens don't get dirty as quickly as our keyboards with our grubby little Cheeto-covered fingers, so the lock keyboard switch is great for your more frequent cleaning needs. Now you have no excuse for not cleaning your keyboard regularly. The lock screen switch is not the same as the Screen Clean switch. Instead, it's a quick way to lock your screen, requiring any user to use login credentials to your Mac to look at what's on it. We already have a lock screen option under the Apple logo, and we can use Control-Command-Q to invoke it, but if you prefer all of your switches in one list, maybe lock screen under one switch would be helpful for you. If you're a developer who uses Xcode, a common issue is that the cache needs to be cleaned. Changes you've made in your code on a website won't often be recognized by Xcode until you clean the cache. It can also help to clean the cache if you're experiencing frequent crashes. If these problems plague you, OneSwitch has an Xcode cache clean switch. I'm guessing the developers wrote that one to scratch their own itch. Now, it's pretty easy to empty the trash by right-clicking on the dock icon for trash, but it might be easier to use the switch built into OneSwitch. Assigning a keyboard shortcut to empty the trash would make it even faster. It's an unusual switch because it stays off by default and shows you how many items are in your trash. When you tap it to toggle the empty trash switch on, it turns on briefly, and as soon as the trash is empty, it turns itself off again. Makes perfect sense, but it's unusual. I don't know why this bothers me so much, but I find it incredibly tedious to drag my cursor all the way up to a disk on my desktop, right-click on it, and then choose Eject Disk before I have to unplug my laptop from my dock. If I've got more than one drive connected, I would lose my mind doing it that way. In Parallels Toolbox, I immediately added the Eject Disk icon to a permanent position on my menu bar. If you don't have Parallels Toolbox, though, add the Eject Disk switch to your OneSwitch menu bar app. Now, the first time I ran Eject Disk, it was very aggressive about trying to eject things. It was asking me if it was okay to eject all kinds of volumes, including hidden volumes controlled by macOS and my 2 internal volumes on my Mac. Eject Disk Preferences has an exclude list to better control this behavior. Quite oddly, it had pre-populated that list with /volume/bootcamp. That confuses me because, according to Apple, bootcamp requires a Mac with an Intel processor, and I'm using an Apple Silicon Mac. I did a clean install on this Mac, so I certainly didn't put /volume/bootcamp there. Now, I suspect this entry is pre-populated by default, and they didn't think about the fact that these Apple Silicon disks wouldn't be... Too many mistakes. I did a clean install. On this Mac, so I certainly didn't put it there. I suspect this entry is pre-populated by default, but it's curious that they specifically excluded this one possible drive and not the other hidden volumes, such as the recovery volume. I added my 2 internal volumes to the exclude list, and since then, using the Eject Disk does not try to mess around with any other hidden volumes. Now, I have no idea what problem the next switch solves, and if you can figure it out, I would really like to know. The next switch is called empty pasteboard. If you copy something and then toggle the empty pasteboard switch on, like the empty if you copy, did you guys hear me hit my mic? Might need to do that over again. And not the other hidden volumes, such as the recovery volume. I added my two internal volumes to the exclude list, and since then, using the eject disk does not try to mess around with. Now, I have no idea what problem the next switch solves, and if you can figure it out, I would really like to know. There it was. Okay. Thank you. I thought I was monitoring my own sound, but I am not hearing things like that. All right. I have no idea what problem this next switch solves, but if you can think of a use case, I would really like to know. This next switch is called empty pasteboard. So if you copy something and then you toggle the empty pasteboard switch on, just like the empty trash switch, it turns on and then off again. And then if you use Command V to paste, nothing happens because the pasteboard is empty. But if you don't want to paste, why don't you just don't paste? And if you want to paste something different than what was in the pasteboard, don't you have to go copy it anyway, which would replace the pasteboard? Like I said, I have no idea what this one is for. It must be for something, but I just can't think of it. On the Mac, you can use Command H to hide your current window, or go to the menu bar and click on the name of your application, and in the drop-down, you'll see Hide and the application name. If you throw the Option key into the mix, so you do Command Option H, you'll hide all windows except the one you have in focus. But what if you want to hide the current window and all the other windows? Well, if you've got a trackpad, in System Preferences, Trackpad, More Gestures, you can enable Show Desktop by spreading your thumb and 3 fingers apart. All of your currently visible windows will slide to the sides, top, and bottom, and kind of get out of your way so you can temporarily see your desktop. Reverse the gesture, and they come right back to where they were. Any windows that were hidden when you did this stay hidden. Now, if you don't do this gesture often, it's not an easy one to remember. In one switch, you can enable Hide Windows. It doesn't do exactly the same thing as the Show Desktop gesture, though. It's more like if you executed the Hide Others command followed by the Hide This App command. All windows become completely hidden. Now, the downside, or maybe it's as designed, side of this is when you toggle Hide Windows back on, or I guess that'd be off, when you toggle Hide Windows off, every single window becomes visible, whether or not it was hidden when you started. So if you had, say, Safari was hidden, but you had Apple Notes up, if you do Hide Windows and then Unhide Windows, both Safari and Notes would come back. I find that having all the windows coming back like that rather jarring because I hide app windows intentionally. But that's definitely a personal preference. It might work exactly the way you like it, and that's why you get to toggle that switch on, and I don't have to. Now, the dock in macOS has 2 distinct display options: show all the time or hide until you hover over it. If you find hovering annoying, you would naturally turn hiding off. But once in a while, you might want to hide your dock, just temporarily. One switch has you covered with a simple Hide Dock switch. Select the switch once, the dock disappears. Select it again, and it comes right back. As you might suspect, the Hide Dock switch is actually toggling the hiding feature on and off, so when the dock is hidden by the switch, you can still hover over it to see it temporarily. If adding a switch for something like this seems like too much effort, you can always right-click on the vertical separator in the dock and toggle hiding off and on from that pop-up menu. All right, that is 23 switches, and I think that one switch is a terrific addition to my menu bar because it has several switches that do that one thing I really need. Even if you only heard 1 or 2 switches that blew your dress up, remember, it's only $5. If you have a setup subscription, you can get it for what feels like free. Check out one switch at fireball.studio. Ooh, 5:58. I got to keep moving. That. Steve's probably panicking.
I am.
All right. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, Grumpy. Copy link. There we go. Right, muting Steve. I meet such terrific people through the podcasts, and one of those people is Sean Peterson. This week, he wrote me a lovely note with a question and some fun stories about how long he's been listening. He illustrated his point by sending me 2 photos, both of him and his son. The 2 photos showed how long he's been listening by how much older his son is now than when he started listening. In his email, he asked for some help with a tech problem, and he explained that it was his son who said, "Ask Allison, she'll know." I thought all of this was lovely enough, but then I got a notification that he actually sent, this was before he sent his question to me, he became our latest Patreon supporter. He started a very generous donation to the show by going to podfeed.com/Patreon and choosing an amount to donate that showed the level of value he gets from the content we create here at the Podfeed Podcast. And he's actually been on Chit Chat Across the Pond. If you want to be lovely like Sean by showing me how long you've been listening, or by becoming a Patreon supporter, that would be lovely. Okay, Security Bits music. Throw it in. Go find Security Bits. Let's see. Security Bits are down here. Here we go. Don't rush, Allison. You make
Chapter
mistakes
mark.
when you rush. Ah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, right here. Copy link. All right, and Option T. Go find Bart's version. Slide it up here. Probably right about there. No, let's slide it over a little bit. Okay, let's do that. And then let's do this one. Let's do the Option T. And then let's get rid of this one. And let's get rid of this one. And then let's move this one up here. And then try to figure out where Bart's talking right about there. And then we'll take both of these by holding down the keystroke that Jill taught me. And then let's test and see how this sounds. Order, that would be lovely. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time. Steve's going to want a little more pause. Am I right?
No, leave it. Let's go.
Oh, you just want to get going.
Leave it.
Watch. Well, it's that time of the week again.
That's
It's time. Okay. Actually, let me check and see. How you doing today, Bart?
I am doing good. I
Gotta work for it.
No, since last summer. I think it's so good. I'll check the best. I'll check the bottle.
Might need
Actually,
to go
to
the
make sure.
right
I think it's
little
so
more.
good.
Oh, good. Check this. Boy, I interrupt him a lot. It's hard to tell where I'm supposed to be talking. So there you go, right?
Yeah, right.
And are they still... Okay. Go to the end here. Boy, talking over him again.
We trust each other enough to have these difficult conversations on a microphone.
Yeah. And you feel like a real heel, right?
I'm just giving you a scolding up front.
All right. Okay, and now here we go. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me at allison@podfeed.com anytime you like? If you have a question, just send it on over. You can follow me on Twitter at Podfeed. If you want to join in the fun of the conversation, you can join our Slack community at podfeed.com/Slack, where you can talk to me and all of the other lovely Nosilla castaways. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. You can support the show at podfeed.com/Patreon, like Sean, or with a one-time donation at podfeed.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, you are going to have to wait a couple of weeks. We will be back live on July 31st, and then you can join the friendly and enthusiastic Nosilla castaways. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed. Oh yeah, Alan, there's no live show next week or the week after. And anybody else who came in late, don't forget. See how
Okay,
that goes.
chapter
Listening
count.
and stay subscribed. Good to see. Okay, let me drag this down. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Read off the ones you see.
2 chit chats.
Uh-huh.
No, read this book.
Why not read this book?
Oh, did you? Okay.
I did a
that's-
link so that they could
Got
get
it.
to the Amazon link.
Okay.
Okay? What else?
8. Got it.
Okay. Good. Export audio. And as long as nothing goes wrong in this, I think we are out. We have to leave in a rush. We're going to watch a rocket launch. We're going to try to go see a Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg. So I'm going to say goodbye really quick. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.